అందరికీ నమస్కారములు. Today, the weekend webinar we are going to have from Dr. CSR Prabhu garu on glimpses of ancient Indian technology and science. We will start the session with Vande Mataram and then Prarthana. Let us request Krishna Kumar garu to recite Vande Mataram, please. You have to unmute, I think. You are unmuted only. Your voice is not coming.
Hello, Ustana Sirpura.
Okay.
Vande Mataram. Vande Mataram. Sujalam Sufalam. Adayaj Shitalam. Sasyamalam Mataram. Vande Mataram. Subhajosna pulakitayamini Pullakusumita dhrumadala shobhini Suhasini sumadhura bhashini Sukhadam varadam mataram Vande Mataram Vande Mataram.
Vande Mataram. ధన్యవాదములండి కృష్ణ కుమార్ గారు. Now let us request Govindaraj garu to chant Prarthana, please.
Sarvebhyo namaskara. Let us start with meditation. Sit with your back straight and gently close your eyes and focus on your breath. Now let us chant Om 3 times. Om. 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 Om Gananam Tva Ganapatigam Havamahe Kavim Kavinam Upamashravastamam Jeshtarajam Brahmanam Brahmanaspata Anashunvannutibhissida Sadanam. Om Shri Mahaganadhipataye Namaha. Om Prano Devi Saraswati Vajebhirvajinivati Dhinamavityavatu. Om Shri Mahasaraswatye Namaha. Gurureva Gati Gurumeva Bhaje Gurunaiva Sahasmi Namo Gurave. न गुरोः परमं शिशुरस्मि गुरोः मतिरस्ति गुरौ मां पाहि गुरो ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां हयग्रीवमुपास्महे श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयम् नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम् शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः मातृदेवो भव पितृदेवो भव आचार्यदेवो भव अतिथिदेवो भव ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ओम्
ధన్యవాదములండి గోవిందరాజు గారు. థ్యాంక్ యూ సో మచ్. నౌ ఐ విల్ briefly introduce Dr. CSR Prabhu garu. You all know him. He is our academic director of the course, and also he is the advisor to our Veda Samskruti Samiti, and he held prestigious positions with Government of India and various institutions. He retired as Director General of National Informatics Center, NIC, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Government of India, New Delhi, and has worked in various capacities at Tata Consultancy Services, CMC, TAS, Tata Motors. He was also an international resource faculty for the programs of Asian Productivity Organization and represented India on the international panel at Ventures 2004 held by APO at Osaka, Japan. He taught and researched at the University of Central Florida, Orlando, and also had a brief stint as consultant to NASA, Cape Canaveral. Mr. Prabhu was unanimously elected and served as the chairman of Computer Society of India, Hyderabad chapter. And he obtained his master's degree in electrical engineering with a specialization in computer science with Indian Institute of Technology, Bombay, after a bachelor degree in electronics and communication engineering from Jawaharlal Nehru Technological University, Hyderabad, in 1976. He has guided a large number of student research projects at master's level and has published several papers. And he is the, as I already said, course director of the Sanatan Dharma course which we are running, and he is the chairman of Vishwa Yoga Vidyapith, Hyderabad. With this brief introduction, now let us request Dr. Chivukula Sri Rama Prabhu garu to start the webinar, please.
ब्रह्मादिभ्यो ब्रह्मविद्या सम्प्रदाय कर्तृभ्यो वंश ऋषिभ्यो महद्भ्यो नमो गुरुभ्यः सर्वोपप्लवरहित प्रज्ञानघन प्रत्यगद्धो सोऽहमस्मि ब्रह्मैवाहमस्मि. Okay, friends, I thank for this brief introduction. I should also say a few more things about my introduction. I have authored 16 books, out of which 12 are in computer science frontier areas like big data and fog computing, and 2 are in yoga. All are textbooks all over the globe, and 2 are on the Sanskrit studies and research. And I've also got 2 doctorates, one in computer science from SRU at Alwar, Rajasthan, and other is Doctor of Divinity conferred upon me for my work on Dharma Yoga as a common framework for all religions and science. And I have also worked as advisor to KL University at Vijayawada, and I have already finished my tenure of about 10 years with KMIT as the Director of Research and Innovation. I superannuated for the second time this month from KMIT at the age of 70. So now coming to the topic of today, it so happened that I gave a very similar topic lecture day before yesterday at Madruka College Group on Indian knowledge systems. Now we have 2 contrasting images about India, 2 extremes, 2 opposites. One image which you get from Sanskrit literature, Sanskrit text, Mahabharata, Ramayana, Puranas, and even the later works by Kalidasa or by all famous authors. That image is that of a very, very advanced, or the most advanced, most affluent, and most knowledgeable and wise, advanced, developed society and civilization of India, Greater India, not just today's India. Greater India includes Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka. As you go back in time, you can include one by one all these countries, Afghanistan, Burma, and even if you take the colonies of the Indian emperors, Southeast Asia, Indonesia, Cambodia, Vietnam, Java, Borneo, and so on and so forth, all under the Greater India. If you drop Europe and China, but if you go back further in time, you will be shocked to see that the whole globe was being ruled from Ayodhya by the emperors belonging to the solar race, Surya Vansha. Rama and his ancestors, they ruled the entire globe. And even subsequently, we have recent kings who have, like Lalitaditya of Kashmir, he ruled up to Caspian Sea. And we have the famous emperors like Ashoka, Chandragupta Maurya, Harsha. They ruled the entire subcontinent of Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, and even Sri Lanka to some extent sometimes. So it is a vast civilizational history, even in recent times, not to speak of the very ancient times. But any point of time you take, up to 1740 AD, coming from, say, 5,000 years, you take the Mahabharata war at 3102 BC, which is the standard date. From there, 8 years after that, Kali Yuga started. And we are in Kali Yuga now. Kalau Panchasahasrani, we have finished 5,000 years. And during the Kali Yuga, the advancement was less compared to the advancement before Kali Yuga in Dwapar Yuga and Treta Yuga. Just the opposite of the normal belief that we became more advanced now than what we were. But even within the Kali Yuga, if you take the status of India at any point of time, except post-British colonization, India was number one in the world, along with China. India and China controlled 68% of the global domestic product for 2,000 years or more, even up to 5. This is what Madison has concluded after his extensive research, which he conducted upon the engagement given to him. He has given detailed tabular data on the economic growth, GDP, per capita income in India for 2,000 years in comparison with other countries, because he didn't go beyond 2,000 years. So his conclusion is that till 1740 AD, that is the time when the British entered India, India and China together, they owned 68% of the global domestic product. So most of the time India was superior to China, and sometimes China became slightly ahead of India. But now, of course, China became much ahead of India in the recent times. But again, now China is on the backs, gradually going into the back seat compared to India, and India may beat China in the next 20 years or so. So 2047, as our Prime Minister Narendra Modi plans and expects to celebrate the 100th year of independence of India, India will be one of the topmost economies, either second or third in the world. Not to speak of America, which is a different story altogether. So now, any affluence, economic growth will come only if two factors are. One is the technology, which can be deployed to harness the natural resources. So the natural resources are minerals, water, greenery, flora, fauna, plants, animals, all these are natural resources. If there are no resources, for example, if there is no gold mine, you can never make gold by applying metallurgy, gold metallurgy. India has gold. India has got diamonds. India has got silver. India has got zinc. You'll be surprised. I'll give you an example. Once I went to a temple called Nath Dwara, which is near Udaipur. So that is a place where the Krishna's image or idol from Mathura was shifted during the Mughal attacks to destroy the temples at Mathura, but the Janmabhoomi temple. So that Murti of Sri Krishna is established in a temple called Nath Dwara. So I just went there out of curiosity to see from Udaipur. I took a bus, rural bus. So in that bus, every stop, ladies were coming and going. And each female, ordinary village, apparently village poor female, was carrying on her body not less than a few kg of gold. So many ornaments on body, all over the body. Everyone, all the so-called poor farmers in the villages of Udaipur to Nath. Then I asked them, what is this? Then they said, no, here the gold mines are. And they exchange kgs of gold in marriages. All Marwadis do that. It's very common. Then after reaching that place, I reached exactly at lunchtime. So they offered me lunch. Lunch was very sumptuous. It was made with pure desi ghee, cow ghee, A2 cow ghee. And not only everybody was fed a ghee cooked meal, but even the cows were being fed the same thing. So I had a lot of time in the afternoon before they opened the temple. So one sadhu said he will show me the temple. So first he took me to one room where there is a silver chakki. Chakki means to make atta. Solid silver. Just imagine that chakki, tiragali, and then Telugu it's called tiragali. How many kilos it will weigh? I was shocked. I asked him, what is this? He said, it's used for making powder of saffron for the Lord Krishna. I was in a state of shock looking at that desi ghee food, and there's a desi ghee tank, like petrol tanks underground. There's a desi ghee tank. Then the silver chakki, I was in a greater shock. Then he took me to another small room. Believe it or not, they had a solid gold chakki, tiragali, made up of solid gold. I asked him, what is this? It is meant for making powder of kasturi. Kasturi is very, very expensive. Then they said the temple is open, now you can have darshan. So I went to have darshan. I saw a bulb on the face of the Lord Krishna's side. I asked him, what is that bulb? He said, it's not a bulb, it's a diamond. It is shining big. Then I was totally finished at the kind of affluence they had. And all the devotees were Gujaratis coming from Ahmedabad or Marwadis or locals. And their guru was Vallabhacharya, who is from Andhra. So why I am giving you this example is to show that India is extremely rich, extremely affluent. So go to Jaipur Palace, you can see solid silver, big jars. You can see the gold ornaments. And in fact, the amount of gold which India has today is more than anybody else in the houses. So to think that India is poor is very foolish. And how did this wealth come? They should have technology to convert resources into wealth. They had it. And it is not recent. It is there for ages. Old gold. So the Marwadis and Gujaratis and Kachis and of course Sindhis, they are the core business communities who are afloat in wealth. Even in Calcutta, the Marwadi community rules the roost. And you go anywhere, you will find them. All these four communities, they run the entire business. Marwadi, Gujarati, Kachi, and Sindhi. They're all next to each other in the location. They're extremely wealthy. All the Seths and Maheshwari, Agar Birlas, like of people, extremely wealthy. And they did not create that wealth in the recent times. It is coming from generation to generation for a long period of time. So you can never say India was a poor country. Now another interesting thing, there is a book written by one Kanaka Sagapati on Indian economic models and business models, which showed this Anchor Madison report that India was the richest country in the world till 1748, along with China. So in that book, he has given the models of economy. As you all know, we have the capitalism, we have the communism or socialism. The main principle behind capitalism is that capital investment and the investor is the ultimate king. Market is the ultimate destination. Everything is determined by the market. There is no place for any other principle of equity or equal distribution or social justice, nothing like that. Pure unadulterated capitalism, that's what America is about even today. And on the other extreme, we have the socialism or communism, where the opposite view that wealth has to be distributed equitably across the entire population. Therefore, there is no right to private property or private ownership of anything, of land or of any asset. It is the government which controls everything and distributes to all people. This is the model of Russia, China, originally. Of course, later they changed. China now became capitalistic with a dictatorship. We all know all these things. So what I'm trying to say is that even today, the number of millionaires, billionaires in the world is quite large number from India. Even those who are settled in UK or USA, they are Indians. Like Hindu Jaws, they are settled in UK, but they are Indian, wealthy people. So now, the Indian model of economy is not capitalism and is not communism. Please remember this. So the caste system, the Varnashrama Dharma, which has been going on for ages and ages, is the real reason behind the affluence and wealth and advancement of it. It may be shocking to a lot of people may oppose caste. I am not either supporting caste, but it is a fact. Because of the caste system, India was number one economic power, intellectual power, academic power. You name it, in every field it was number one till the British entered India. Even during Mughal period, technological, scientific, any subject you take, India was number one. And caste system was going very strong. What is the secret behind it? Caste system is not meant for discrimination or any such thing which as people normally interpret. It is meant for division of labor and specialization. A goldsmith can do the goldsmithy work better than anybody else. A tinsmith, blacksmith, so many special trades, about 100 trades are there. They are called the Shudra caste. It's not that they are lower. They are the actual economic caste. They produce wealth. But then they cannot do trading. They cannot manage money. So we need the Vaishya community to manage that, do trading and run the banks, manage the money. And of course, agriculture is fundamental. That is both shared by the Sudras, farmers, and as well as Vaishyas. The agriculture and all the 100 and odd trades, which are services, they are the core economic activities. Above that, the ruler, the Kshatriya, is only a warrior and ruler. He cannot produce anything. No economic activity. And above that, even the Brahmins are only the beggars. They are supposed to beg from others. They have no money. And that they have knowledge, they have purity, they have strength, spiritual strength, and so on. So the complementary roles of these four castes was the secret behind the economic success of India throughout the history. That's why the British wanted to break that. They tried their level best by dividing rule policy. Now coming to the scientific and technological aspects, we go back in time. How many years can we go back in time? Human being has existed for about 1 lakh years. Old Stone Age site is there at Meerut. Meerut is a place where Hastinapura existed. So now you can go and see the relics of Hastinapura on the banks of Ganga. near Meerut. And if you go westward from Meerut towards Punjab, on the way in Haryana, you'll find all the important centers. The 5 villages which Krishna pleaded to be given, they are there. Swarnaprastha, Parnaprastha, and then Bhagaprastha, Vyaghraprastha. Vyaghraprastha is Bagpat, Swarnaprastha is Sonepat, Parnaprastha is Panipat, and there are 2 more. And the village Karnal is nothing but the Karnalaya, the war zone location of Karna's tent. It's very close to Kurukshetra, where the actual war took place. And the spot where Bhagavad Gita was delivered and the spot where Vishnu Sahasranam was. I have been there many times. I've given many lectures in many conferences, meetings, and occasions at the Kurukshetra University and outside also, and yoga also. So partly like I'm very too much familiar with Kurukshetra area. There are about 400 locations, which are the various events that are referred in the Vedas, the ashramas of the rishis. The Saraswati river was flowing from Adibadri, which is the foothills of Himalayas in Haryana, border of Haryana with Himachal. I went there, I stayed 3 days. And from there, the Saraswati river kept flowing down through Punjab, Haryana, Rajasthan. And wherever the Saraswati river went, the civilizations, the ashramas, the Vedic learning developed there. In fact, the Rigveda actually refers to Saraswati river as the biggest river, Ambi Tame Nadi Tame, O greatest mother, greatest river, Ambi Tame Nadi Tame. There is a Saraswati Suktam in the Rigveda, which you can see. It talks about the Saraswati river at length. The word Saraswati has 2 meanings. One is flow of knowledge, the other is flow of water. There is a evidence in Rigveda about the Saraswati river having been prevalent with about 10 kilometers width, not to speak of the length. The length is hundreds of kilometers. From Adibadri Himalayas, it goes on to the ocean throughout the states of Punjab, Haryana, Rajasthan, and so on. So the Saraswati river is a fact. If the Saraswati river is a fact, it dried about 4,000 years before Mahabharata war. There is a spot also called Vinasalam, which is the last spot where Saraswati river water appeared. I traced the Saraswati river quite a bit in Punjab Haryana area. And at a place called Pehova, Saraswati Tirtham, there is a river minus water. You can see that it was a river, but there is no water. Only underground water is there. So there is one place called Pruthutika Tirtha, where Balarama went during his Tirtha Yatra, because he escaped from the Mahabharata war. And he went on Tirtha Yatras. So he performed Matru Tarpanam at Pruthutika Tirtha at Pehova. Pehova is Saraswati Tirtha, where there is no water in the river. And in this Pruthutika Tirtham, where I went, and I am telling so confidently because I went there, I took the bath from the water taken out from underground Saraswati river water, and I performed the oblations to my ancestors. The same place, the same waters underground, which the Pandavas performed oblations to the people who died in the Kurukshetra war. That what I am trying to say is Saraswati river died before Mahabharata war, which is estimated around 3102 BC by means of astronomical calculations. Though there is no finality of it. People like Nilesh Oak, they have started telling these days that it is 6000 BC. Whatever it is, this normally accepted date is 3102 BC for the Mahabharata war. And even before that, the Saraswati river disappeared. That is the important point to note. Whereas the Rig Veda refers to the Saraswati river as biggest river, Nadi Tame, which means Rig Veda mantras which are referring to Saraswati river, Saraswati Sukta and all that, they belong to a period when Saraswati river was full-blown river with about 10 kilometers width. That is estimatable to 40,000 years or more. So when the Saraswati river dried up, a lot of things happened. Of course, you may talk of the Indus Valley civilization, which is nothing but the extension of Saraswati. So now the Saraswati Sindhu civilization is what is being talked about. Both are just one and the same, one after the other. I went to a spot called Dhirana, which is 8000 BC. There's a township there. And that's the oldest Indus Valley site located till today. Banavadi is next to it. Before that is Rakigadi. Rakigadi is 5000 BC. All in Haryana. And this Saraswati river is very, very crucial evidence on the veracity, validity of the Rig Veda. Because the Saraswati river has been defined, declared as the surface river by Rig Veda. But before Mahabharata itself, it became underground. Antarlina Saraswati. In the Prayaga, in the Triveni Sangama, you can see Ganga and Yamuna merging together. One is one color is another color. But when they say Triveni, there is a third river which is underground. So Saraswati remained underground all through the centuries after its disappearance before Mahabharata. So the underground Saraswati has been described extensively. And there are sangams which are underground. People go and take bath in sangams which are underground. Sangam means joining of rivers and rivers. So in Jaisalmer, I went to Jaisalmer, where there is a spot, it's all desert now. Once upon a time, Saraswati river was flowing there. There is one spot, they say, is a Saraswati river Sangamam. You can see nothing on the surface of earth, only desert sand. But when they dig, they find a Sangam. And the most important evidence came when NASA remote sensing satellites and even Indian IRS remote sensing satellite have actually located underground Saraswati river. That is a crucial turning point evidence. The moment you locate it through satellite imagery, underground Saraswati river, it is corroborating, validating, ascertaining, supporting our traditional view of Antarlina Saraswati. And you go back in estimating time. So we come to around 40,000 years, 50,000 years order of the full-blown Saraswati on the surface of earth. Of course, why it became extinct, why it became underground, all that is due to tectonic shifts and so on and so forth. A lot of research has been done, a lot of papers have come. So why I'm telling so much about this is the only concrete evidence of the veracity of the Rig Veda and therefore the entire Indian civilization comes from Saraswati river. There is one Darshan Lal Jain at the Yamuna Nagar district headquarters, where he has got tremendous amount of evidence, documentary evidence of the path of Saraswati river. I also traced some path of Saraswati river from Adibadri, which is also in Yamuna Nagar district. And the waters of Saraswati shifted to Yamuna. Yamuna was not there originally. Yamuna came later, tectonic shift and all that. Then that water went into Yamuna. That Yamuna flows from Yamuna Nagar to Delhi. So Delhi is not very far from Haryana, which is Gurgaon is in fact Haryana. And Haryana is the place where all these things have happened. You can find 300 locations where the ashramas of the rishis exist today as temples. You can go and search, you can go and travel. It's a wonder, it's a miracle. You can take bath at various locations with various special effects. The Kurukshetra Development Board has published one big book, I have it with me, giving details of all these locations. I strongly recommend all of you go there and see all these spots to get the satisfaction of having the evidence of the veracity of the statements of the Rig Veda, and therefore the entire Indian civilization. Now, coming to the science and technology aspect, why I am talking about Saraswati River? Because Saraswati River is associated with the Vedas. And what are the Vedas? Veda means knowledge, knowledge of all subjects, science included. So over a large 40 to 50,000 years or more, even maybe 1.5 years, we don't know the upper limit. We only know the lower limit. So the upper limit could be large, we don't know, not less than 40,000 years. So 40,000 years to 1 lakh years is the time period which the Saraswati River was flowing and the Vedas developed on the banks of Saraswati River. The Vedic mantras were delivered by various rishis. So what is that Vedic knowledge model? See, knowledge model is very important to understand. Today we have knowledge model comprising of, WhatsApp messages, WhatsApp University onwards, emails, websites, blogs, magazines, journals, books, and so on. But 20 years back, they were all not there. I remember in 1990, we conducted a conference, there was no email at that. If you go back to 1960s, it was even different. And if you go back to Vedic period, they had a totally different model. They didn't believe in paper books and all those things. They had script. They used script very limitedly on stones and on very few media like Bhurjapatras. Talapatras came into use later. Bhurjapatras are some of the trees available in Himalayas. Bhojvasa, there's a place after Gangotri towards Gomukh. I went there. That's where the Bhojpatras are. Talapatras are there only in South India mostly because the tad, the tree Tala will be growing in only some places, not in Himalayas. So Himalayas and onward, they use only Bhojpatra to write, we engrave. So that model is different. They have very little writing, but maximum audio, Shruti. So they used a model where knowledge was recorded as Vedic mantras of various subjects, and each subject is called a Devata. Agni, Vayu, Prithvi, and so on. So Bhu Suktam, Prana Suktam, chapters and chapters. So that knowledge was created as a repository which we call Veda. That is a different model of knowledge compared to what we have today. So in that knowledge warehouse or knowledge repository or depository, whatever knowledge bank, whatever name you give, that is called Veda. It was Ananta hi Veda, they were infinite in size, but Vyasa is supposed to have edited them and separated into 4 parts as they existed at his time, because at different times, different sizes of the Veda exist. Though they are Ananta originally, because the original model is that every knowledge piece will be appended as a knowledge warehouse repository called Veda. And it was oral model, and the children were taught from the age of 5 or 8. That's the sharpness of mind and memory. They grasped everything into memory, not in the book. Today, everything is there's nothing in your memory. They had the exactly opposite. There is no book. Everything is in your memory. And from the memory, they were able to recall and read and chant and so on, everything and anything. And the Vedic model of knowledge got extended further at a later period into the Upavedas. Like Ayurveda is Upaveda of Rigveda. Usually people think it is Upaveda of Atharvaveda. Not so. It is a Upaveda of Rigveda. And Gandharva Veda, which is musicology, music, is Upaveda of Samaveda. And after the Upavedas, the Darshanas came up. Darshana comprised of the entire perspective of the subject. Physical perspective is the Vaiseshika. Logical perspective is Nyaya, which came later. Originally, Sankhya is the oldest of all darshanas. Yoga is next. Both are closely related. Yoga is nothing but Sankhya in practice with Ishvara being identified. Seshvarata. So the Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya, Vaiseshika, Mimamsa. Mimamsa, which is concerned with the karma kanda. Jaimini wrote the Mimamsa Sutras, who is also a disciple of Vyasa himself. It is dealing with the interpretation of the Vedic Samhitas in terms of the karma kanda, in terms of the various yagas, yajnas. There are 11 Havir yagas, starting with Agnihotra, and it will go on like that. Vaishvadeva, Somayaga, Atiratra, and then Agni Chayanam, Somayagam, Atiratram, then Chayanam, Agni Chayanam. So a person who performed Soma is called Somayaji. A person who performed only Agnihotra is called Agnihotri. Agnihotra is performed by each and every person. Somayagam is quite advanced. It is 10 days process. It costs a lot of money. A person who performs it is called Somayaji. So the entire procedures of performing the yagas, in the Somayaga, there is a particular step called Pravargya. In that Pravargya, the 20 feet flame will come. And that flame can consume all the bacteria, all the bad things in the area. Every yajna yaga has its own beneficial effects. So the entire yajna yaga process given in the given in the Yajurveda and the Brahmana Granthas, where the 4 Vedas are coming into play with 4 personalities in the yajna process. The Brahma, Hota, Advaryu, and Udgata. Udgata is so these 4 Vedas, Advaryu is from Yajurveda. So these 4 people perform particular roles. The roles and steps are microscopically specified, right from the Yajurveda and going on to the Brahmana Granthas and to Mimamsa Shastras. And the interpretation of Veda in terms of Mimamsa as Karmakanda, which is central and primal and fundamental, was given in the Mimamsa Darshana, followed by the Vedanta Darshana, which is also known as Uttarmimamsa, that is going into the Jnanakanda rather than Karmakanda. The Devatas of Karmakanda are very much there, but all Devatas are again only entry points or windows to one supreme being, which is Om. That Parabrahman Om is being deliberated in the Upanishads, which are considered as the Jnanakanda of the Vedas. Upanishads are considered as part of the Shruti or Veda. But the declarations given in the Upanishads are taken as Mahavakyas, 4 Mahavakyas for 4 Vedas. There are 108 Upanishads available today, of which first 10 are taken as the principal Upanishads, though There are 46 Vedanta Upanishads. And for those principal Upanishads, Adi Shankaracharya wrote commentaries, and so also other Acharyas wrote commentaries. And Badarayana, Vyasa himself wrote the Brahma Sutras, which are the summarization of the Upanishads philosophy on the nature of the ultimate truth, ultimate absolute reality, Parabrahma. Now, here the important thing to note is the inquiry process which was taken up in the Upanishads was about the origin of the universe, the source of universe, creation process, creating principle or creator principle. If it exists, what is it, and so on. So, and this procedure of inquiry based on questions and answers is called Upanishad. And the Siddhanta which comes out of it, or the theory which comes out of the entire thing, is Vedanta. Could be Advaita Vedanta or Dvaita Vedanta or Visishta Advaita Vedanta or Dvaita Advaita, Suddha, 25 different Siddhantas by 25 different Acharyas. We are not here to go into the details of each one of them, but Advaita Vedanta is the first and the oldest, interpreted by Adi Shankaracharya, which we normally hold as the standard referential framework. Other things came as extensions or research outcomes or some kind of derivatives of the same Advaita in different time periods by different Acharyas. That's a very important point to note. All Acharyas are separated by a good amount of time. Even Shankaracharya came after Buddha after a long period of time. So now the important point to note is that the scientific aspect of the ultimate truth, or what is the ultimate truth in terms of physics, in terms of the classical physics and modern physics, they are not only on the same side as the Upanishadic framework of the ultimate truth. In fact, they are convergent. You will be surprised to note the convergence comes from the fact that the ultimate reality or absolute reality, Brahman, and of the Upanishads is congruent, concurrent, and convergent with a philosophical answer which we get from modern science, physics. What is the ultimate truth? That ultimate truth is X, let us say X Brahman. According to Einstein, matter and energy are equivalent, they are interconvertible. That X becomes either matter, forms of matter, or forms of energy. And the nature of such forms of energy or matter are as observed in the experiments conducted by an observer who himself is traveling at a particular velocity, and his instruments are interpreting in a particular way, either as particular type of matter or particular type of energy or both. So the relativity and quantum theory, quantum mechanics, I gave separate lectures on this, how their perception of the ultimate reality as transcendent beyond space and time and convergence of matter and energy into one as some X is nothing but the Brahman of the Upanishads. So that is where the science and philosophy meet in India. Of course, today we have science separate, philosophy separate, but before 200 years, there was no such thing. There was only one subject, and that was the Veda, including the Upanishads. And the so-called modern science is just about 200 years, which is starting from the Bacon's definition of squeezing out science for the benefit of, for the enjoyment of man. That definition has resulted in large-scale destruction of the environment on Earth. And whereas our Vedic perspective was nature is to be worshipped, is protected, propitiated, as each part of nature is a Devata itself, is a window to the Parabrahma. It's not that God is separate and nature is separate. There is no present. I don't believe in PowerPoint presentations. They limit my. I believe in extempore, extensive coverage of lectures, extempore. So now the nature and its components have been ignored, targeted, squeezed out, and destroyed by modern science and technology. And that is the result you can see in the environmental crisis we have today. There is no guarantee that human beings will survive beyond a particular period of time because of the environmental destruction created by modern technology. Whereas the Vedic way of life for 1 lakh years, the human civilization's growth and efflorescence has not resulted in that kind of a existential crisis which has resulted in the last 200 years by the advent of modern technology. So people who developed theories of modern science, people who developed technologies and applications in modern science, they didn't bother. They just didn't care about what happens to nature or to environment. As a result, everything catastrophic started. That has not happened for so many thousands of years or hundreds of thousands of years. The only once it was about to happen was the Mahabharata war, with the Brahmastra being fired from both sides. The two Brahmastras were fighting with each other, resulting in catastrophic results on nature and earth, which was immediately stopped. And from that point of time, there was a detent made that all astras will be withdrawn, and they were withdrawn. So in Kali Yuga, no astras will be working. And even the mantra, tantra will be very little working, if at all. It is before Kali Yuga only. They had extraordinary knowledge of advanced science, subtler than what we can think in terms of modern science of gross technology which we have today, which are physical. Because today's technology is purely physical. There is no place for occult power or vibrations of mantra sounds resulting in technological applications. Today we have come to that level of what you call laggardness or lower level of development. Whereas in the previous yugas, Dwapara Yuga, Treta Yuga, the mantras were being deployed for astras and wars and defense was all being done by them. So they have withdrawn deliberately because their Mahabharata war was a final warning of total destruction. So after that, now again we are facing a situation of World War III threat and atomic war, which will result in total elimination of human civilization on Earth. So that's why the nuclear deterrent agreements have been signed, not to use. But this is purely physical technology, not like the ancient technology. So I've touched upon a few things. Now, to think that our ancients were not educated in science is being very foolish and innocent and ignorant. They had their own model of science, their own model of knowledge. After the Upavedas, the Shastras came in a big way. The Mantra Shastra, the Tantra Shastra, the Yoga Shastra, the Ayurveda Shastra, hundreds and thousands of books are there. In fact, in manuscript libraries, various cities and universities all over the globe, we have thousands and thousands of manuscripts, going up to something like 5 lakhs of manuscripts, of which only less than 10% have been published or printed. So whatever books you get in Sanskrit in printed form which you are able to access, they are less than 5% of the total manuscripts which are there. Various Shastras. I'll give you one example. Saraswati Mahal Library in Tanjavur has 22,000 manuscripts, of which only 150 have been published. I visited there. I was trying to computerize the catalog there. And I got some rare books there in the manuscript form, which I try to decipher, decode, and edit and publish. It was a very difficult task. So you can imagine the scale of the impossibility of the situation. And such libraries of manuscripts like Saraswati Mahal are in hundreds all over the globe, even in Berlin, even in Heidelberg. They are there. I went to Heidelberg, I saw they have huge library of our Indian manuscripts. And they don't find guilty about it. And similarly, you will find them in Oxford. They have taken from here. And within India, you will find in Nepal area. You can find it in Mysore, Maharajas. You can find Hyderabad also, Usma University. Prachya Likhita Bhandar is a manuscript library. Most of it is not published. Most of it is not even understood. So we have a huge heritage of knowledge, societies, scientific civilization, of running from the Krita Yuga, Treta Yuga, Rama. One estimate of Treta Yuga is 1 lakh years, 1.25 lakh years or something. So, of course, the estimates are very controversial. Now, according to one estimate, the Kali Yuga is 4,32,000 years. So, 2 times that is Dwapara, and 3 times that is Treta, and 4 times that is Krita Yuga. 43 lakhs total period of Mahayuga. And such Mahayugas, 14 have happened. And one Brahma's day, Sahasra Yuga Paryantam Mahadyat Brahmano Vidu. 1,000 such Mahayugas will become one day of Brahma, the creation cycle of over 2 billion years. So that's what is mentioned on the front page of any Panchanga. Srishtyadi, it will be around 2 billion years. And if you go by the cosmological theories of modern science, the same figure will be arriving at, if you go to the original source of the creation. There is no narrative they given there. And we have the summary of the Vedas and the Upanishads coming in Bhagavad Gita and Brahma Sutra. No narratives given there, only analysis given there. And coming to the technological aspects, you see, the important point to remember is the population was very less in the ancient times. So they did not require mass production. Mass production of vimanas, mass production of all those things not required. So whatever technological achievements they had limited scale, and limited people required it, limited people used it. And rest of the people were happy with their normal food and shelter and clothing. There was no need for going out of the way to do all these things, which we are doing today, because we have very large population, and we have to create large infrastructures, and we have to create large amount of pollution due to large amount of transportation and so on. All these problems did not exist. The population was very small. Even in my childhood, population was very small. In Secunderabad, Hyderabad, if you just walk on the roads in my childhood, you could get water in street taps. Do you get it now? Population was very less, and the infrastructure was designed for that population. Even in our own lifetime, we have seen. So when Nizam built Hyderabad, he built for that kind of population which existed at his time. And he built a public garden, he built tankment, he built this, he built that. That was good enough for that population. But as the population exploded, we have 7, 8 Hyderabad's today. So you can imagine at global scale what would have happened. So that had their own technologies. I'm not saying everything today was there previously. I'm not saying mobile phones were there previously, all that rubbish I don't talk. But they may be even having better things. They may be able to communicate through the thought process without any phone requirement. That was actually happening. So they had occult powers, and they had very close familiarization with the mantra, tantra, prana, aura, occult, all those things, and they were operating them. Now we don't have all that. We are good for nothing, and we depending on machines, instruments only. We can't do anything ourselves. So through the yoga system, you can develop your own powers and instead of depending on machines. So the large industrial military complexes which we have today in the West and partly in India in terms of the industrial complexes. Military, of course, we have mostly imported items and some are locally made. But the real large military, industrial, commercial complexes are there in America, in Europe, and even in Australia. They are all well integrated. They drive the entire world economy and they drive the wars. They sell their material, military products. They conduct wars so that they can sell their military products. They're to both sides. So this is how the fraud has been going on. So finally, I'll come to the future direction, what we should take. Dharma is to be brought to the center stage. If you don't bring Dharma to the center stage, which is the situation today, I've asked many top leaders. In fact, I met the chief of army staff some 15 years back in Usman University and asked him, "Sir, you know about Dharma?" He says, asking, "What is Dharma?" He's asking me. Or if you talk to even Chief Justice or anybody like that, I don't think they know. Or chief scientists or directors and director generals like me, except me. Nobody knows anything about Dharma or, Ritam, Satyam, Param, Brahma, nothing of that kind they know. And even among my own family members, my own relatives, my own kith and kin, they don't know anything. Because they don't know Sanskrit. They don't know text. They have not studied Veda. Nothing. They're not interested. They're just carrying on. And some of them may be very atheistic, influenced by communists, socialists. And another dogma, the communist socialists and they are Marxists, they have a particular narrative. And they strongly believe it and everything they will be dismissing on that. And the DK, DMK, they have their own narrative. So Kalki Avatar is not yet come. It will come as per the Puranas. It will come long way later, the fourth pada of Kali Yuga. Yeah, now in the recent national education policy, Indian knowledge systems have been given kind of importance, and interdisciplinary research has been importance. And both UGC and AICT have incorporated courses on Indian knowledge systems in the various levels, even the high school level. The CBSE has introduced 2 courses, 11th class, 12th class on Indian knowledge systems. And in engineering in 3rd year, one paper is established by AICT. Even in CBIT and other engineering colleges, which I myself was invited. Just now, even Commerce Science College like Badruka College, they invited me. They're conducting FDPs, faculty development programs on Indian knowledge systems. It's a vast subject. Each one is a subject by itself, like Vaiseshika is a subject, Nyaya is another subject. And yoga is a vast subject by itself. Ayurveda is even vast. So the word Indian knowledge systems actually means ancient Indian knowledge systems, not modern Indian. Modern Indian knowledge is same as Western knowledge. Modern Indian knowledge. In fact, V.S. Naipaul is on record to say that there is nothing Indian in India. Today, there is nothing Indian in India. Everything is westernized. Look at the dress code of our people, even the females, how they are dressing, or how they behave, how they talk. Like Macaulay predicted, if my British education policy is implemented, we'll have millions of brown Englishmen and women who think, act, and behave like it. That's what we are doing. Except that the British left India. Everything else which Macaulay planned has materialized. So it is high time. In fact, as my yoga Guruji used to tell, all the great personalities, right, starting from Vivekananda on the recent times, they were only trying to revive the original Indian wisdom and knowledge systems into the Indian narrative, Indian framework, Indian thought process, Indian education system. They are only trying to bring back, but till today it has not been successful. Only very little, very few things have been done. Ramakrishna Math, Chinmaya Mission, Divine Life Society, so many organizations. They have sustained our survival. Without them, there would have been no survival also. So survival is there, but not full-scale manifestation. The advent of Bharatiya Janata Party and people like Narendra Modi in the last 2 decades is an indication of the revival, renaissance of Indian knowledge systems and Indian identity as distinct from British or Western identity and Western and knowledge systems. It is yet to take place. It is just in the beginning. So it is incumbent upon all of us to take it forward. Of course, we are trying in our own way in our programs which we are delivering now to revive that knowledge system. What is Indian knowledge system? Is the same as Sanatana Dharma. Both are same. Same subjects will be there in both. But the word Sanatana Dharma will mean as if it is Hinduism, it is religious, it is Afghanization, etc., etc. But Indian knowledge, it is somewhat neutral. But some contents are same. Contents will be same yoga, same Upanishads, same Vaiseshika, everything same. But the name connotation will be meaning differently. I stop here. Thank you.
ధన్యవాదములండి. Thank you for the 2 hours talk. It covered all the points which we thought we will convey in this lecture. Now we will ask any questions from the audience. In the chat box, there is one question regarding Satya Yuga and Vedic Yuga, which was the Vedic Yuga earlier than Satya Yuga?
No, the Vedas existed even before the Satya Yuga. The Vedas started with the creation itself. The creation, total creation, has many Mahayugas. So one cycle of 4 yugas is one Mahayuga, and many 14 such cycles are there in one Brahma's day, more than 14. So I don't remember exact number. So Vedas exist, but in a vibration form. But when we talk from the archaeology point of view, we have arrived at about 40,000 years from Saraswati River. Otherwise, they were talking of 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 BC for the Vedas themselves. Of course, the Aryan invasion theory puts Vedas at 1500 BC. It's absolute rubbish. Because the reason why they put 1500 BC for Vedas is because they said that God created the world 4004 BC. So to have a Aryan race emerging, it will take some time. So put 1500 like that. All kinds of totally childish arguments. They have all been dismissed. And the Aryan invasion theory has been abandoned.
I think you have covered other questions in the chat box.
Yes, I already covered. Yeah, nothing left here.
Okay, if anybody else wants to ask any question, raise your hand, or I'll allow you to unmute. Now you can unmute and talk. Now the time is already 6 o'clock. Anybody wants to talk?
I don't think they want to talk. What is our contribution to science technology, ancient and modern times? Yes, a good question. Modern times means, you see, the modern formal discussions of physics and advanced mathematics took place around 150 years ago in Europe with Newton, Leibniz, and all these things. And they got their inputs from the 14th century Kerala scholar Madhava wrote the first ever book on modern times on calculus, which somehow reached Europe, possibly through Jesuit priests. And the British scholars all had access to it, and even many French also. And that is how they built calculus. And if you take the computer science aspect, the De Morgan and Charles Babbage and George Boole, these are the three fundamental foundational personalities of modern computer science. They were all strong Sanskrit scholars. Their wives themselves told that these people are Indophiles. And they had access to Pingala's Chanda Shastra, which is the first book giving the binary logic. And they also had access to Bhaskaracharya, Lilavati, which is giving algebra. So every subject, like if you take surgery, in Tipu Sultan's war with British, one British officer, nose was cut off. So one of the barber surgeon, barber is also a surgeon. Barber's wife is the gynecologist for delivery. So barber cum surgeon, he fixed his nose back. That is the first time, nose section. Tipu Sultan period. So that British officer learned that technique from that barber, went to England, and he started floating. That is how modern surgery was born. Numbers I already told you. Otherwise, they had Roman numbers. Roman numbers, you cannot do anything. Einstein is on record to say that we owe to Indians for the decimal number system. And if you go back, we have the ancient times, we have Vaiseshika Sutras, which are giving the atomic theory and basic laws of physics, laws of motion, Newton's laws. That's all that I covered in my book and in my lecture on Vaiseshika. And if you go to botany, zoology, they just translated into Latin the Sanskrit text of Nigantus of Ayurveda. So everything, almost everything, even agriculture, they didn't have good agricultural practices. They learned that also from India and imported there. So you take any subject, they started from here. And then at the same time, they suppressed India. For 200 years, India lost its buzz. So India became backward and they went forward. So now we are trying to equalize. Too late though, but better late than never. Yes, Mr. Vijay Pant.
Okay. Vijay Pantji, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
My question to you, sir, is namaskaram first to all to you and to all the members who were listening to your such a knowledgeable lecture. I tell you, my heart weeps to see what we have come to today. Anyway, the point is the Kala Chakra, shows many things happen, and perhaps that had to happen due to Krishna's will. Anyway, now my question to you, sir, is how do we really teach our youngsters all this great knowledge that our nation had, and how do we start from grassroots level? That is, you see, we have to start it from the home, from mothers and fathers. And so how do we, I mean, it is such a Herculean task. I do not know, it's a Brahma Prayatnam. And how will we do that? That is my question.
Yes, this is a very common concern.
Yes, our languages have gone. Our thinking capacity has gone. Our analytical capacity has gone. We are not able to question and to analyze anything on by ourselves. We just follow like blind sheep. So where is who? I mean, Aham Brahmasmi. Where is that Brahma and where is that Asmita? I do not understand.
No. There's no pointing in lamenting on darkness. You have to lit a lamp.
Yes, but how do we do it? Yes.
We have to augment our modern education system with our ancient knowledge. Like this course we are giving now. in every level, in school level, in primary school, middle school, high school, college, degree,
Yes.
engineering, every level, we have to augment, we have to introduce our Indian knowledge or Sanatana Dharma knowledge, Shastras into different levels.
Yeah, but you see, the problem is we are being attacked from every side, from within. We have enemies
No,
inside.
that is all in the past. Now, nobody is attacking. In fact,
Do you think so? Excuse me.
no,
For
now only
example,
the Marxists, the Marxists are the one who oppose this kind of approach because they are so ignorant. In fact, I'll tell you one common point even with Marxists. One day I was invited by communist people to Nalanda
uh-huh,
to a conference called People Science Congress.
uh-huh,
So they accept and support people science. People science means native science.
uh-huh.
That is a common point between nationalists like RSS ideologues and the communists also.
So what is
That
this
is,
people science? What is people science?
people science means the science which originated from grassroots in the same
Okay.
location, not
Okay.
imported, not imported and not forced upon and all that. So see, like agricultural practices or handicrafts, handlooms. So we have actually developed. Why I was invited was because officially we developed one database of traditional sciences and technologies of India.
Mhm.
So we have identified 10 major areas and 10 minor areas in each 10. So
Uh-huh.
major areas, suppose you take health as major area. Then under the 10 minor areas, Ayurveda, Yoga, Siddha, Unani, like this. And if you take agriculture, then you have Vedic agriculture, we have this agriculture, then you have Indus Valley agriculture, like this. So if you take metallurgy, then you'll have again that. So this way, 10 into 10, 100 subjects, we compiled information in English from about several hundreds of books and made a database, online database. Like, if you take yoga, you'll get everything in yoga, all asanas, so everything will come. And if you take Ayurveda, you'll get diagnosed every subject, Nidana, Shalyatantra.
What is the central point for all these knowledge systems that you have,
No, we have compiled. No, what has happened? There was a conference at IIT Bombay in 1990, and what is called the Traditional Science Congress. There is a foundation called PPST. Even today, it is there. People, Science, and Technology. So in that conference, they approached our office, our boss in Delhi, and asked us to contribute. They thought we'll give some money. So our boss said, no point in giving money. We will do something concrete. So he called me and he assigned a project. You build a database on traditional sciences and technologies of India.
Excellent.
So I was given 50 lakh rupees. I went around the whole country to Southern Zone Cultural Center in Tanjavur, to Northern Zone, Western Zone, and compiled all kinds of books which are in English. Here, the requirement is only English books. If you put in Tamil, Kannada, nobody will understand. So
amazing. You have done fantastic work, I would say.
This was done in 89-90.
Fantastic, fantastic.
And then we extracted topic-wise about 5,000 topics in about 100 areas, sub-areas in 10 major areas. And then I extracted all that and entered into the database by manual data entry and created a world's first and last traditional science and technologies database of India.
Great. Fantastic. I mean, my parents were both scientists. They were, my mother was a biochemist, my father was a botanist. My husband was an engineer. But what you have done is fantastic, I would say.
So this database was demonstrated by me to all kinds of audiences, including the communists. And the other side, RSS chief Sudarshanji and Nirmala Sitharaman saw this in 1991 period.
Okay, fantastic.
So they all know me very well and they really appreciate it. But of course, now with the internet, those days no internet was there. Please remember.
Yes, that was the problem. That is right.
So now the internet has come. Everybody is creating everything. So many things are happening. So we have greater obvious. Prabhakar Rao garu want to say something. Yeah.
That is very great, sir. I speak Tamil also. So because my mother was from the south, so I have I resonate with the whole of the nation, I would say. And my namaskarams to everyone, I would say, and we have to bring back our Punya Bhuvi back to what she had, the glory of the past.
Okay, Vijayaji. Prabhakar Rao.
Yes. Namaskar.
The concern is well understood, and it is the
Yes.
concern of everybody here and everywhere in the country. And this
Yes.
is the level, there are the threefold work is required on this issue. First is on government level, which government is already taking up, reviving the education system. That they are already taken up and they are doing it, and it may take fruits in short time, maybe next
Very
5
good.
years.
Very good.
And
Very
second
good.
one is at the associations level, like us, Veda Samskruti and Prabhu Garu, etc., that type of associations level. We have started this process, and we have also started Vedavani journal, whereby encouraging the young scientists to read individual books and prepare papers and publish it. We have taken ISSN number also. We request the people, interested people like you and everybody. That is third level. Third level is individuals. Individuals should start reading the scriptures one by one in whatever language they get by an Indian author, Indian
Yes.
translator, Indian Bhashyam,
Very
any
true.
language. Take up that language, because Sanskrit immediately cannot be learned and you cannot be master in this directly understanding the Sanskrit scripture. So every language, fortunately in every language, people have translated into their languages. Indian people are there who had already translated those things into Indian languages, various Puranas and other things, scriptures, darshanas, everything. So take up those books one by one and read them, and then prepare papers individually at every level, like 20 years onwards to 70 years, anybody, or 80 years. Anybody can take up any book, read that book, understand whatever you understood, and find out in your field of knowledge. You are a scientist, you are an engineer, you are a doctor, in whatever knowledge you have got, what that book says about that knowledge. Bring out that and make a paper and present it to the journals like us. Okay, and not only us, CSR is doing, and Pune, some other research, Bhandarkar Research Institute is doing. There are so many research institutes are there. So many papers are also there. One of that effort we are going to do is, Veda Samskruti Samiti is trying to do is, we started a Vedavani journal 1 year back. Already 4 issues already over. We are publishing the papers. We are encouraging the people to give us papers on the science subjects that are available in our Vangmayam. I request everybody here and to convey the message to among your contacts to the young scientists, young engineers,
Definitely,
young doctors,
definitely, we will
young
do it.
people.
Yes.
Encourage
I want
them.
to add, while I
And I also request one more thing, sir. I also request the senior people like Prabhu Garu, etc. Those people are there to encourage the students and write papers, be a guide to them, and promote this Vedavani journal. That's my request to everybody, the seniors as well as the juniors.
No, I am on the editorial board of the Vedavani journal anyway. But the point I'm trying to make is, you see, the unfortunate thing that has happened is that, the Sanskrit language has been associated with only religious texts or with literature texts. It has not been associated with scientific texts in Sanskrit. This mischief was also done by the British to give a fake narrative that Sanskrit is only meant for religious purposes and literature purposes, not for scientific purposes. This kind of mischief they have done. They have closed down the Ayurvedic schools. They have closed down so many Veda Pathshalas, all that they have done. So this is the greatest danger. Today people think, you just have to read Bhagavad Gita only or Bhagavatam only, and that's the end of science or end of Sanskrit. That's not the case. There are many texts in Sanskrit language which are science and technology texts, like Vaiseshika Sutras, or Viman Shastra, or even the Manasara, Mayamatam, Vishwakarma, Vastu Shastra, and then the large number of Ayurveda texts and yoga texts. These are all scientific texts. So unfortunately, apart from the Britishers, our own universities have taken the path of literature departments and philosophy departments only dealing with Sanskrit. So that has to change. Now we have to realize that Sanskrit contains all subjects, not only philosophy, religion, and literature. Because English language contains all subjects, not only English drama, English fiction and English philosophy. So just like English language is only a medium to express knowledge of different subjects, Sanskrit was the universal language used to express knowledge of different subjects. So just like, as an English professor cannot understand an anatomy book or a surgery book and then give lectures on it, a simple Sanskrit knower or a simple Sanskrit teacher or a professor cannot understand Ayurveda, Susruta Samhita, or Manasaram or Mayamatam and all those things, because they are highly technical and highly specialized. Only those who know that subject can understand in addition to the language. So the interesting point to note it down here is that the architects and civil engineers can understand better the Vastu Shastra than a simple Sanskrit knower or a Sanskrit lecturer or a Sanskrit professor. Similarly, the doctors of medicine can understand Ayurveda text better than a simple Sanskrit knower or a Sanskrit teacher or professor. So, the respective subject experts have to study the respective Sanskrit text. You follow what I'm saying? So, only then you will be able to get the results. And then bring out papers, books, reports, anything, whatever. And
That's what I mean.
seminar
That's what I mean.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much for the question answer session. Now there are no more hands raised, so we'll go for Pradhana, sir. Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, Govindarajul garu, please.
स्वस्तिः प्रजाभ्यः परिपालयन्तां न्यायेन मार्गेण महीषाः गोब्राह्मणेभ्यः शुभमस्तु नित्यं लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु काले वर्षतु पर्जन्यः पृथिवी सस्यशालिनी देशोऽयं क्षोभरहितो ब्राह्मणः सन्तु निर्भयाः अपुत्राः पुत्रिणः सन्तु पुत्रिणः सन्तु पौत्रिणः अधनाः सधनाः सन्तु जीवन्तु शरदां शतं सत्यं वद धर्मं चर स्वाध्यायान्मा प्रमदः सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते सर्वे ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः सर्वे जनाः सुखिनो भवन्तु स्वस्ति
ధన్యవాదములండి గోవిందరాజా గారు, థ్యాంక్ యూ. నౌ లెట్ us go for జనగణమన కృష్ణ కుమార్ గారు.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल वंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उत्थल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाता जनगण मंगलदायक जय है भारत भाग्य विधाता जय है जय है जय है जय 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 है जय हिंद.
ధన్యవాదములండి కృష్ణ కుమార్ గారు, థ్యాంక్ యూ సో మచ్.